Hi guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. Before we get started, I just want to say thank you to everyone who watched my first video. It was so exciting to seeing the numbers, go up. It's so humbling. Thank you so much, guys. Thank you to all my subscribers who hit the subscribe button. I encourage you to hit the subscribe button. I encourage you to comment. I highly encourage you to comment. And I encourage you to please share my videos. My name is Kiba Bam. I am in trade and investment marketing. I am an entrepreneur. I run a consultancy firm coming out of South Africa, Cape Town, and I put retailers and suppliers together to talk and do business. So my channel is primarily about that. I'm going to be tackling a lot of subjects around, how to increase your market share in South Africa when it comes to the retail aspect of things. So I think the point of this video today is just to talk to you guys and tell you, who I am, where I've worked, what I actually really do, what does trade and investment marketing mean, what is important for this industry, how to penetrate the retail market. Who are you targeting at a retailer? Is it a buyer? Is it a buying executive? Is it a buying manager? Is it a planner? Who is it in the supply chain is, the key person to talk to. Yeah, so I think today I just want to take that time to introduce myself and to say, who I am. So as you know, I've already said my name. My name is Kiba. Um, my my experience started off. I was very young. I've been in entrepreneurship since I was 19, and I'm in my very early 30s now. So I've been doing this for a very long time. My first business that I started, I used to sell handbags. And I used to go to our capital city here in South Africa, a place called Johannesburg, and I used to go and buy these handbags to resell to my friends. And I really thought that I was gonna be like rich and things were gonna, take off for me. Lord and behold, I never knew anything about, branding, marketing, supply chain, distribution, all those things. Like no one warns you when you open your first business that there's actually no rush when you're opening a business. The most important thing about entrepreneurship is understanding the market that you're going into and who's your customer, what is your customer saying about that, and actually also understanding your competitors. Because if you enter any industry, um, you have competitors, and who are those competitors and what are they doing better than you? So, just going back to who I am, I started a business when I was 19, and then that business shut down, and then I opened another one, a clothing business. Yeah, I didn't learn my lesson there. And after the clothing business, I opened a hair business and closed that one because customs was not my friend. Yeah. So over the years, I accumulated so much experience in understanding entrepreneurship and understanding, in the South African context, who we are as entrepreneurs and what contribution do we bring to the economy of South Africa. And being an entrepreneur in South Africa is very tough, but when you make it and you are consistent, you make it big. I think the one thing that I've taken away from being an entrepreneur is that persistence is key. But besides that, you have to be well informed. And when I say well informed, is you have to take interest in what you're doing and what you're learning. When I was an entrepreneur, I never knew that I would one day have a consultancy, which I run a consultancy now, because yes, I was buying and selling and doing all that stuff, but I was learning a different skill at that time, and that skill was how to put everything together and how to make something from nothing. I was also building confidence in how to speak to suppliers and how to speak to my customers and just how to put myself out there So I learned how to communicate, and I also learned a huge lesson in making things happen, and happen in a way where it's beneficial to the growth of your business. And what I mean by that is, being well researched in what part of the market that you want to really take charge of. So, whilst I was also being an entrepreneur, I did go and study a fashion degree at the University of Johannesburg. And I've always known I don't want to be a fashion designer. That was not my vibe. I really wanted to become a buyer. And so I went on, and whilst I was running my business, I was also a buyer. So my career started off at Woolworths, where I started off where did I start off? In the handbags and belts department. That's where I learned, the basics of, some people will call it procurement. That's where I learned the basics of being a buyer, where we learn, where I learned about stores. I went and I did my few months at stores. I then also learned quite intensely about trends and trends analysis. I also learned about my numbers and how my numbers drive my business. And what I mean there is, what is the customer buying, and what is she telling us, season in, season out? What color is she voting for? What shapes is she voting for? So basically, how to consume data from your customer, and reading that data, and translating it into a product. That's how specific, and that's how the big players play. Data is king, because your data can, as I said, it can create a product. Because if a customer is buying the same color every season and voting for the same shape every season, and she's choosing certain types of fabrication every season, all you're doing as a buyer is you are bringing in trends that you're picking up within those seasons, to translate it to what she wants and what she's looking for. So that's where my career started off at Woolworths, and then I moved on to Edcon. I went and I worked in the denim shop. That was an amazing experience. Had the best leaders there, and then I moved on to Clicks, to FMCG, into color cosmetics. Really enjoyed that. It was a tough environment, but it made me who I am as an entrepreneur. And then after Clicks, I decided to go on my own for the first time with no salary. And that was the toughest time of my life, but it was such an experience. It was such an experience. I moved to Johannesburg, and there, the first thing my consultancy did was to work with entrepreneurs. And my first client was a company called Reka Africa, and they were an online platform. And my primary job there was brand management and marketing, and to bringing on new suppliers onto their platform. They had no real suppliers, and they didn't know how to look, where to look. So when I sat down with the owner explaining, my background and what I did, there was synergies, and I brought 24 suppliers onto their platform where their clients could buy items that were made in South Africa. So the concept was that you could sell it from anywhere, and but we would unload it onto the platform. And then I brought on a concept where it was, immediate delivery, where a friend of mine had a business called Hailer. It was like a Uber, and he had also was in that business for quite a while. So I brought him on to do same day deliveries. That was what the concept was called, same day deliveries. It was so exciting. So yeah, then Rega Africa did those same day deliveries, and then we also, I also assisted them having a DC on their premises, in their offices. It was such a great experience because just watching that business grow for me was so fulfilling. It was so rewarding to see someone, or helping someone's business to get to where they needed to be. Then from there, I worked with, who did I work with? And then I worked with another entrepreneur who was in the suits business, and there was just to help him to put systems into his business. And then I worked with many others, in personal care. There was a lady who used to make her own, personal care, like moisturizers and body lotions, and helped her to grow that business, not knowing that I was learning a skill that would be, quite vital in what I'm doing right now in my consultancy. The name of my consultancy is called Kiba Bam Consulting. What we do in my consultancy is called trade and investment marketing. A huge part, of the economy in South Africa is responsible for assisting entrepreneurs, within their regions to penetrate the market, purely because a lot of, SMMEs and big to large, businesses are the ones that create jobs, right? So government puts a lot of money behind those, businesses to help them thrive, whether it's capital investment, buying them machinery, opening doors for them. So a lot of the times, my clients, are obviously government, employees, have no real buying background or understanding of the supply chain of the buying environment. And that's where I come in. My opportunity started, with a program with the United States Aid. I've also worked with, DMG Events. They do a lot of the, events in Africa. They've got offices in Dubai and South Africa. I've also got an opportunity with, Switzerland Embassy. I've also gotten opportunities with Ukraine, export company. I've also worked with the, did I mention Ukraine? I mentioned US. I mentioned Switzerland, and the UK embassy also. So what I primarily do is, my clients will come to me and say, we've got a basket of suppliers who are looking to come into the South African market, or the SADC region suppliers want to come into the South African market, or the South African suppliers, we want you to take them out of the SADC region into a different market. So I would then step in purely because, number one, I've been within these networks for many years. I know who is within the roles. A lot of these people I worked with in retail. So my networks are quite strong there. I create those opportunities for these suppliers, who are looking to, yeah, to be in retailers. So what I do is, so for example, a retailer will come to me. I'm sorry, not a retailer. My client has given me, so the work that I've done, my client gave me about 240 suppliers coming out of SADC region, which included South Africa, Zambia, Mozambique, Swaziland, Botswana, and Malawi. So I worked with these suppliers and I created opportunities for each supplier. Each supplier, I think I created about 3 opportunities for them. So out of the 200, only 166 were compliant. And what I mean by compliancy is, if you want to come into the South African retail landscape, you have to have certification. That certification has to prove that it was done by an internationally recognized authority that said, okay, supplier X has got all that they need to be considered as a supplier for a Woolies. I would then go to Woolies and say, look at this supplier, they are compliant, don't you want to talk to them? So I've been doing this for quite a while. I like to think that I'm really good at it, and I really, 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 really enjoy my job. I really love my job. So, going forward, what I'm going to be talking about is just taking a deep dive in what I is that I do. I want to really talk to the static suppliers, or even suppliers, if you're sitting in Israel, in Turkey, in Istanbul, and you feel like you want to come into the South African market. I think I'm a bulldog when it comes to that. I can definitely get into the market. Um, I've consulted for all the retailers in South Africa. I've worked with Woolworths, um, getting suppliers in there. I've worked with Food Lovers Market, ShopRite, Checkers, Pick and Pay, just to name a few. OBC Group. So I've worked with quite a lot of the retailers who are looking for new suppliers, and also macro. So my channel is going to be focusing on assisting people to understanding what it takes to be a supplier who wants to be in the retail market. You want to see your product on shelf. What does it take to get your product on shelf? What do you need to get your product on shelf? So I'm going to be covering all those topics on this platform, and please subscribe. Please make comment. Your comments will help me to to add on to the subjects that I will be covering over a period of time, and I really look forward to growing with you. So yes, please follow, subscribe, like, share, and hit that subscribe button. Okay, cool. Thanks. Bye.